All right. Let's see. How's that? Looks like it could be a little hotter. Testing. Wow, that's a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, I can never get it right. The last show was really hot. Sorry about that. Do appreciate, though, you listening. When I say hot, yeah, it was hot in more ways than one, but the audio was a little hot. It was a little too much into the red. Anyway. Okay, look at that. It's 6 p.m. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephen Kelley. This is the Stephen D. Kelley Show. It is June 25th, 2020. It is 6 p.m. Hello to the people that are tuned in right now. IRD, Hacienda Heights, Joe Dude, LA, Rancho Palos Verdes. Anyway, it's hard. I apologize, with this time thing going back and forth. But, last week, yes, we did go back to 7 o'clock because I didn't need to get it done early. But here we are. Anyway, it's worthwhile. You guys, it'll be a good show. And the title of tonight's show, of course, is Are Trump Allies Involved in... Wait a minute, let me get this right here. Let me see. I know it's a good provocative title here. Basically, I want to get this right here. No, I'll probably muffle. I do this every show, I know. Hang on. All right, well, I like to connect a lot of dots. God, I shouldn't even look at this Facebook page while I see these idiot things that these people post. It's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. But anyway, basically, the title of tonight's show is Are Trump Allies Involved in Shipping Children to J. Paul Getty? I could have said all kinds of things like Trump involved in child trafficking to the Getty. Something of this nature. Obviously, this is a bit of a gotcha title, but it should be kind of obvious, really, to be honest with you. I noticed a few connections here, subtle connections, but important, substantial, having to do with certain people involved with Donald Trump very closely and in a dirty way, who are both have in jail right now, except for Paul Manafort, of course. He was released from jail, but Roger Stone is still in jail. I think his sentence is a little longer. They don't let you out for COVID unless you've served at least half of your sentence or you're very elderly and sick and prone to dying of the disease. So this was the reason, even though Paul Manafort didn't fit this criteria, he managed to get out. And there's actually some other pretty interesting people that are benefiting from this. Oh, let's see, not Flynn, but somebody else. Anyway, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to draw a connection between Donald Trump and J. Paul Getty. And when I say J. Paul Getty, obviously I'm talking J. Paul Getty, the human, but I'm also talking Getty, the establishment, the bunker, the pedo empire, the service that was created by J. Paul Getty for pedophiles like himself, primarily for housing, displaying, and disposing of the child sex slaves that they gathered there. All in one place for your convenient shopping. Now, so who are we going to talk about? First of all, the two most important characters here, aside from Getty and Trump, we're going to start with Paul Manafort. Now, of course, Paul Manafort is in jail right now doing 7.5 years, and like I said, they let him out early for COVID. And he's doing that for money laundering and other financial crimes, although the state of New York tried to try him for another additional dozen or so, 20-something felonies, and it was not allowed because of double jeopardy, which brings us to an interesting concept when you think about why these guys all are in jail. Oliver Stone, of course, not Oliver, sorry, I'm going to always say Oliver Stone, but Roger Stone, that idiot with the hat and the glasses, he is very closely connected to Manafort, even though we don't really look upon that because the activities that they were to work together on were non-governmental, per se. So what I've done is I've constructed a timeline, and I've put a few events together on this timeline, and hopefully this will serve as dots, these events. And, of course, whoa, what's this? We got music playing over here? What could that be? Sorry. If you're going to be connecting dots, it helps to know where the dots are going to go. You gotta have a place that you're hoping the dots will connect to, and obviously everything leads to the Getty. So, why is Trump important? Well, you know, Trump is a relatively insignificant human as humans go, but because he's in this office and because he stuck his head up and took that position, he's going to be the main target. It didn't matter if it was him or Hillary or some other New World Order satanic clown, they would still be the target. So, all emotions aside, connections between Trump's people, and these various different evil people are very important. And it has nothing to do with politics. So, who are we going to be looking at? We're going to be looking at Paul Manafort. We're going to be looking at Roger Stone. We're going to be looking at the business dealings that they did together, primarily their lobbying campaign. Well, they were both lobbyists. They had a firm. Both of them obviously worked in this business much earlier. But you're going to notice a lot of mobster, mafia stuff. And before I go too far, I'm going to recommend that if you have not listened to my video on Felix Sater, a.k.a. Moshe Bond, you're going to want to do that. That's about 3.5 hours of very concentrated information, which basically covers every single Russian mobster, including the ones that Trump was dealing with, and the entire mechanics with their takeover from the Italian mafia and the subsequent control by the Chabad mafia. But you do need to do that, because a lot of the information we're going to talk about tonight will reiterate some of the things. At the same time, we're going to touch on things that are covered much better in those two videos. Again, a lot of the stuff is going to seem very tangential. But at the same time, once you can establish certain things, you kind of can't be naive and assume that they're not connected. So anyway, as I said, aside from Manafort and Stone, we also have their customers, such as Ferdinand Marcos, the former president of the Philippines. He's a significant one. There's others, but these guys are important. Connections to Richard Nixon, and Richard Nixon's connection to the mafia and his gay lover, Bibi Rebozo. Yes, Richard Nixon was gay. It's important that you know these things, because obviously when people are compromised and they're dealing with the mafia quickly becomes in control of the government, which is something that we covered pretty extensively in the Felix Bond, or the Felix Sater series. We're also going to talk about something a little more close to home for some people, such as Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Empire, and not so much his impact on society, although many could argue that without Hugh Hefner there would be no Donald Trump. Both were masters of marketing, and both were masters of, well, they seem to have a fetish with their logo. One guy had a T and the other guy had a big Playboy bunny head. Anyway, they both promoted similar lifestyles, lived a certain lifestyle, and epitomized certain lifestyles. And you know what? There's one other person that falls into that category, And that would be Adolf Hitler with his swastika and his ego cult and megalomaniac personality. But anyway, apparently there's a new book out on that subject. But the thing is that we will examine Donald Trump's association with the founder of Playboy because of the fact that we know that the tunnels at the Playboy Mansion connect to the Getty. So we're looking at timelines, and we're going to look at when those tunnels were allegedly filled in, when various people died, when certain people decide to cut off their relationships with other certain people, that sort of thing. And of course, this is all very we'll. One of the things I want to suggest real quick here is that there are certain things like the fact that Ferdinand Marcos was revealed to have sent containers containing 10-year-old children to California to be absorbed by J. Paul Getty and his elite associates. So obviously, anytime that we can connect anybody to that person or to that location is important for us to do. But because of this massive amount of children that were being shipped into this place, and because this had become a supermarket for pedophiles, this is why there's so many of them. They don't stay 10 years old very long. Of course, they need to be either turned into slaves, incorporated into the system somehow, or disposed of through a satanic ritual or other. But the point is that when this underground was created and this service was created, all of the pedophiles out there that had problems with disposing with their leftover children were given the opportunity to use this service. So when we talk about people like Jeffrey Epstein, any connection we can make is important. Now, another tangent here real quick. When we talk about people like Nixon and Bibi Rebozo, right away we talk about Italian mafia, the Cuba, the Caribbean. And of course, all money laundering we know makes a stop in the Caribbean at one point or another. And of course, this was the domain of Jeffrey Epstein. So anytime we can see anybody of any political party connected to any operations in that part of the world, we need to take note. Another part of the world we need to take note of is China. As we talked about the Rothschild Mafia connection there, and also Iran, because of the Shah and because of the fact of what the CIA did over there. Another thing that you need to watch closely is any involvement of any oil companies. Obviously, Getty is an oil company, was an oil company. All right, so where do we start? Well, let's see. There's a lot to go on here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Paul Manafort a little bit. I'm actually just going to pull up his wiki, and I'm going to go down some of this stuff. It won't take too long. But hopefully from there, I can raise a few questions, and then we can dive into our timeline a little bit and talk about other people such as Roger Stone, etc. But as I said, or as I meant to say, it should be painfully obvious by now that anytime you've got a hot potato, you've got somebody that is dangerous to you, that knows too much, that is involved in too many of your criminal activities, slapping them with a relatively minor prison sentence, 6 years, whatever, 47 months, 7.5 years in the case of Manafort, with a show trial involving Mueller or whoever. Obviously, these are meant to mask crimes or distract from crimes far greater than that which they're actually being tried for. So when we look at Manafort going to jail for money laundering, obviously that's kind of ridiculous when you think about the more heinous criminal activity. Kind of like the stuff that Barr was involved in. And also keep in mind, when you look at these people and you look at who's who and who goes to jail and who doesn't go to jail, think of guys like Barr at the top up there with his thumb up or down and making these decisions like he always did, because this is how a mafia works. All right? All right, so let's look at Paul Manafort Jr. All right, born April 1st, April 49. April 1st, April 49. Oh, that's interesting. Long-time Republican campaign consultant, chaired the presidential campaign for Trump from June to August 2016. He also served as an advisor to the U.S. presidential campaigns of Republicans Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Bob Dole. In 1980, he co-founded the Washington, D.C.-based lobbying firm Black, Manafort, and Stone. Yes, Roger Stone. Principals Charles R. Black Jr., Roger J. Stone, later joined by Peter G. Kelley in 1984. Now, he often lobbied on behalf of foreign leaders such as the president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. Sorry, I'm going to butcher this, but Yanukovych. Now, this is the guy that ran the Ukraine prior to Maidan. Okay? This is the one that everyone says was pro-Russian, that was corrupt and all that, but got overthrown by a CIA Nazi coup. But he also represented, and this is what we're interested in, the former dictator of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos. Interestingly enough, he also represented the former dictator of Zaire, Mobutu Sese Seko, and the Angolan guerrilla leader, Jonas Savimbi. Okay, so what do you think about that? Right away, we've got these two conflict zones. You think of Zaire, whatever they call it now, I think it's called Congo, and Angola. Angola, obviously, we think of Angola, blood diamonds, and all that fun stuff. We know who is involved with that, but basically, these are dictators. Now, of course, in order to do that, you have to be registered with the Justice Department, and he retroactively registered as a foreign agent on 2017. That's interesting. So apparently they've been doing this. I would suspect that they've been doing this for a long time before this company was basically established, and that's one of the things I want to suggest that's very important, because all of these people together have been lobbyists in one way or another, and we'll certainly show that with Roger Stone. Now, if you remember from our other show, with the Mueller investigation, obviously, he got into a lot of trouble because of money that was passed around, and one of the other people that got in trouble with him was a guy named Rick Gates, who we talked about. On October 27, 2017, he and his business associate Rick Gates were indicted in the U.S. District Court of Columbia on multiple charges arising from his consulting work for the Ukrainian government. Of course, in the wiki, they say pro-Russian government of Viktor Yanukovych in Ukraine. And this is before his overthrow in 2014. And, of course, this indictment came at the request of Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation. In June of 2018, additional charges were filed against Manafort for obstruction of justice, witness tampering, that were alleged to have occurred while he was under house arrest, and he was ordered to jail. Okay, that person sounds like a bunch of crap, but he was prosecuted in two federal courts. On August 2018, he stood trial in the Eastern District of Virginia and was convicted on 8 charges of tax fraud and bank fraud. And then he was prosecuted on 10 other charges, but this effort ended in a mistrial, with him later admitting his guilt. But anyway, basically he pled guilty to 2 charges of conspiracy to defraud the United States and witness tampering. while agreeing to cooperate. After his sentencing, the New York State prosecutors charged him with 16 state felonies. But on December 18th, 2019, the state charges were dropped, citing double jeopardy. Now he's been released as of May 13th, 2020 to his home because of COVID. And as we said, he doesn't really qualify because he's served less than half of his 7.5-year sentence, and yet because they say he's in poor health at 70, whatever it is. He was born 1949. Supposedly that's why they send him home. All right, now one of the things, I always pay attention to religion. Now this guy went to St. Thomas Aquinas High School, private Roman Catholic secondary school, and he attended Georgetown University, which of course is an interesting hotbed. That's where he got his BS in business administration in 71 and 74. But let's see, he practiced law. Between 1977 and 1980, he practiced law in Washington, D.C., and he had to forfeit his Connecticut bar license in January of 2019. And he was disbarred from the D.C. bar on May 9th, 2019. Boy, that sounds like deja vu, huh? Okay, now, here's what's interesting, because to me, I think this is a bunch of crap. But when we show the connection between Manafort and Stone over a period of time, when our timeline, we're going to show that the official record of when Manafort was introduced to Donald Trump is probably ridiculous. But it says here, according to Wiki, that in February 2016, Manafort approached Donald Trump through a mutual friend, Thomas J. Barack Jr., and he pointed out his experience advising presidential campaigns in the United States around the world, describing himself as an outsider not connected to the Washington establishment, and offered to work without salary. So in 2016 is when he joined Trump's presidential campaign, and basically he took the lead in getting commitments from convention delegates. But he was fired soon after in 2016. Let's see, wait a minute, Trump, okay. If you look at his Trump's campaign managers, you know, half of them are either in jail or something, but let's see, let me start from the beginning here. On June 20th, 2016, Trump fired campaign manager Corey Lewandowski and promoted Manafort to the position. So Lewandowski was the guy that was just before Manafort. And I'll just say this about Lewandowski, is that he was a political commentator for the One American News Network, Fox News, and CNN, as well as, well, let's just say, to me, when I look at this guy, he was like a ride-along. He wanted to be a cop. He was like a cadet that never quite graduated. I think he was a wannabe cop, but he ran for office several times and lost. So why he's advising other people's campaign strategies, I don't know. But needless to say, it's interesting because, as you can see from his One American News Network and Fox, he certainly has a conservative and possibly Christian credentials as far as the media is concerned. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Manafort, of course, they're trying to suggest that he just came along out of nowhere and approached Donald Trump in 2016, and next thing you know, he's in their inner circle. Because on June 9th of 2016, Manafort, Donald Trump Jr., and Jared Kushner were participants at a meeting with Russian attorney Natalia Valenskaya and others at the Trump Tower. Oh, of course, we talk about this extensively in the Moshe Bond series. And there was a British guy there also, music agent, and these guys were working on behalf of another mobster named Emin Agaglarov. Trust me, I had these names better last time. Emin Aglarov. Now, basically, this is when they said they had damaging information on Hillary Clinton. And basically, Trump Jr. had said the meeting had been primarily about the Russian ban on international adoptions, which we call as response, is what they call the Majinsky Act, which we also talk about, which was some BS thing. And they didn't really talk anything about Clinton. Basically, that was pretty dirty. And obviously we know that Manafort would not be involved in something like this with the close family members if it was somebody who just came into their circle that quickly. So that's ridiculous. And it's also, what's interesting is that his close association with this previous Russian, pro-Russian Ukrainian president is interesting when you consider the nonsense going on with the Ukrainian issue with Donald Trump now. But the thing is one of the things is that's really sad is that they're suggesting that it was Manafort that was putting the most pressure on the government at the time, the Ukrainian government, to actually start shooting the protesters. So we always talk about Mossad being involved with Maidan and having snipers shooting protesters and shooting police officers in order to turn it into the riot, which eventually would cause the government to be overthrown. But for this to be pinned on Manafort is actually it's a very serious thing, because, like I said, typically we associate this with somebody that would be maybe closely involved with something more like Mossad as opposed to a lobbyist. Okay, so, and again, one of the reasons why we want to consider this is because when we look at these people, you have to remember we're talking about mafia. So anytime there's conspiracy involved, and there's obviously mafia activity involved and connections involved, this is not the sort of thing you're going to see on Wikipedia, because remember, it's like Phil Schneider said, I said in my last show, you're only getting 5% of the information. So you've got to take that 5% of the information and try to fill in the rest of it. All right, so let's just talk a little bit about his, well, let's just say that a lot of people give Manafort a lot of credit for Donald Trump winning. Newt Gingrich stated that nobody should underestimate how much Paul Manafort did to really help get this campaign to where it is now. He later added that for the Trump administration, it makes perfect sense for them to distance themselves from somebody who apparently didn't tell them what he was doing. Obviously, they're very good at making excuses. All right, so he goes to jail, but let's talk about his lobbying efforts a little bit. All right, what did he do for Jonas Savimbi? Okay, the Angola rebel group. Basically, his job was to refurbish Savimbi's image in Washington and secure financial support on the basis of his anti-communism stance. He also arranged for him to attend events, one where he was given a laudatory introduction by none other than Jean Kirkpatrick. Of course, I believe she was UN. And they were supported by the Heritage Foundation and the Freedom House. And basically, because of this, Congress awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in covert American aid to Savimbi's group. Now remember, he's a rebel. These are terrorists. Allegedly, Manafort's continuing lobbying efforts helped preserve the flow of money to Savimbi several years after the Soviet Union ceased its involvement in the Angolan conflict, forestalling peace talks. So in other words, even after the so-called Russian menace or communist menace removed itself from the country, we still pumped money in there. Let's see, he was also worked for the government of Saudi Arabia during the Reagan administration. Well, apparently during the Reagan administration, right away, there were several, well, let's see, it says, between June 1984 and June 1986, Manafort was a FAR registered lobbyist for Saudi Arabia. The Reagan administration refused to grant Manafort a waiver from federal statutes prohibiting public officials from acting as foreign agents. Manafort resigned his directorship in OPIC, O-P-I-C, in May of 1986. An investigation by the Department of Justice found 18 lobbying-related activities that were not reported. Filings, including lobbying on the behalf of the Bahamas and St. Lucia. Okay, now pay attention to this, because we're talking about the Bahamas and money laundering. Manafort's firm, BMSK, accepted $950,000 yearly to lobby for then President of the Philippines, Fernand Marcos. Okay, so this is almost $1 million a year. This is back when $1 million meant something for for Marcos. That's significant amount. Of course, we're going to mark that on our timeline. He was also involved in lobbying for Mobutu Sese Seko of Zaire, securing at least $1 million annual contract in 1989. He also attempted to recruit Said Barre of Somalia as a client. His firm also lobbied on behalf of the governments of the Dominican Republic, the Equatorial Guinea, and Kenya, and Nigeria. So basically, all of this put him on the top 5 of lobbying firms receiving money from human rights abusing regimes. Okay? According to the Center for Public Integrity report, The Torturer's Lobby. He represented evil people. He also accepted a payment from the Kurdistan region to facilitate Western recognition of the 2017 Kurdistan region independence referendum. Okay, obviously, that's war in Iraq. Now, I talked about Pakistan, and I talked about China, and I talked about the Gwadar and the highway from China to Pakistan, which is a big problem for the CIA, and how this highway has to pass through Kashmir. So Manafort was involved in that. There was this thing called the Karachi affair. Well, that's another thing. That's involving submarines. But basically, well, let's see. He received $700,000 from the Kashmiri American Council between 1990 and 1994, supposedly to promote the plight of the Kashmiri people. However, an FBI investigation revealed the money was actually from Pakistan and their inter-service intelligence agency as part of a disinformation operation to divert attention from terrorism. Now, terrorism, we could refer that to as something involving the terrorism from the CIA on the Chinese workers. And a former Pakistani official, ISI official, claimed that Manafort was aware of the nature of the operation. Now, this is very important. These words, think of these words, was aware of the nature of the operation. When I create a bunch of tangents and connect a bunch of dots, you have to assume that the people in these dots are aware of the situation. That's like when I'm saying that Donald Trump is spending time at the Playboy Mansion and there's tunnels in there that lead to the orgies under the Getty. I think if you have any brains at all, you can assume that Donald Trump is aware of the situation. Billionaires share stuff like this with each other. All right, so I don't want to spend too much on Manafort, but I'm just going to put a little more effort into him before we move on to our timeline and the other players. Okay. Well, he's corrupt, okay? He got busted he was criticized in the 80s for basically a scam involving $43 million for rehabilitating of dilapidated housing using HUD money, where he received $326,000 to get HUD approval. I don't want to talk too much about his relationship with Ukraine, but the point is that if you do look at his relationship with Ukraine, you're going to see that he was very much involved personally in the Euromaidan protest, the subsequent coup, and so much. It's really hard to tell whose side anybody is on, but the thing is that one of the things that you should see is that they do play both sides. They always play both sides. But the list of Russian criminals that he's involved in here, involving the Russian government, Here's a guy, Ivan Fursin. We talked about him. Konstantin Kilminik. There's so many of them. Viktor Yankovich. Let's see, the Oleg Deripaska. He's a good one. Anyway, these are all billionaires in Russia, and you should see this connection. It's pretty close. Now, as far as Roger Stone is concerned, one of the things that we could say about Roger Stone, aside from being a dirty tricks operative for the conservative candidates, going back as far as Nixon, we know that he's a pretty creepy guy, but we also know that he's got Nixon tattooed to his back. He's got a big picture of Richard Nixon's face tattooed on his back. Of course, Roger Stone was quite a bit younger than Nixon when he worked for him. Now, the gay thing, the bizarre sexual things, and I don't want to say bizarre because it's mainly, it's just like Donald Trump. One of the patterns that we really want to show here, one of the common denominators, is that these people have insatiable requirements sexually. And certainly Roger Stone is the sort of person that is very public about his, let's just say, flamboyant excesses. And certainly he was actually, for some time, he was hurting in public because of a scandal involving him soliciting a partner for him and his then female partner, I believe it was, for some sort of kinky sex rendezvous. Anyway, he disclaimed all that. But the thing is that we know what Bush is about. We know that Reagan, what he was about, we can connect him to the NSA, and we can connect him to all of those things. We've done so much work on it. So these people here right away, just the fact that these guys are connected to these people is going to suggest they were aware of what was going on. Now, usually when you look at a guy like Reagan, you could say, well, people like Ollie North, they might have been doing all these things behind the curtain, and the president wasn't aware of it. This is a very convenient thing. Certainly, this is one of the reasons why guys like I said, Oliver Stone, Roger Stone, and Manafort, and even Flynn are in jail. So you really have to put this together yourself. But let's just go and start our timeline. And let's just say we start in the 50s. Oh, did I get something backwards here? Yeah, okay, let's start in the 50s. Now, Nixon's a great place to start, because if you go to, say, 1968, right before Nixon's re-election, we know Roger Stone was certainly involved. We know Roger Stone and Manafort worked closely together, even though they didn't talk about it. We certainly know Donald Trump was very much involved with his casinos, of which Roger Stone was a representative of. He was a lobbyist for Trump's casinos. Well, anyway, one of the biggest things that Nixon did, at least that was his main criminal activity, was that he got a lot of money for his re-election campaign, and he used his political connections to squeeze money out of dictators and certain people that are very unsavory, and businesses, of course. I'm sure a lot of that goes on today. But one of the things about Nixon is that we all know that he took in a lot of money. He had a very rich campaign. He took in millions of dollars, but nobody really knows how any of this money was laundered. But we do know that his Cuban best friend, confidant, and male companion, Bibi Rebozo, was the go-between with all of these payoffs. And we also know that Bibi Rebozo was very much connected in the Italian mafia and its operations in the Caribbean, with money laundering and such. So again, you need to go back and look at the series on Sater for more details on the money laundering and how that's actually set up. But the point is that who did Nixon take the money from? Well, let's see. He got it anywhere he could. But he did get it from, he certainly got money from Ferdinand Marcos, which is interesting. And he also got it from J. Paul Getty, when Getty was alive. Now, at the time that this was going on, when Getty was alive during the Nixon's re-election campaign, this is when Getty was somebody. This is when he was like the richest man in America. He had more money than Howard Hughes Aircraft. And Howard Hughes, of course, what happened with him, Nixon basically used his mafia to kidnap him and take over his entire empire. We talk about that in the Felix Sater thing. But obviously Getty was an oil firm at the time. But at the same time, Getty was a raving pedophile who was receiving children from Ferdinand Marcos. So the fact that both Ferdinand Marcos and a living J. Paul Getty are giving money to the Nixon campaign through their man, Bibi Rebozo, the gay mafia connection, all the while we have Roger Stone and possibly Paul Manafort in the sidelines. So I think it's pretty obvious that all these people had a pretty good idea. They knew what was going on. We haven't even mentioned Barr, but we know he was there too. So that's our first dot that we connected. Now, of course, Nixon was reelected in 1970. But in 1972, we had Watergate. Now, what was Watergate really all about? Now, when Watergate happened, he was with Bibi Rebozo somewhere in Cuba or something like this, and he heard about, I don't know, wherever he was at the time. But it's reported that he said, what the hell were those guys doing there? Basically, I'm believing, unlike George Bush at the kindergarten when 9/11 went down, I'm believing he had no clue what was going on. And I think what was really going on was information was being removed from that office, implicating high-ranking Republican people in pedophile activity. That's the real secret of Watergate. They had to remove evidence of the pedo crimes. By the way, in 1971, right before Watergate, Hugh Hefner bought Playboy Mansion. Just want to throw that out there. Well, in 76, J. Paul Getty died. And of course, when he died, this caused a big stir in the world of pedophiles, because they were now completely dependent on him for housing and disposing of these children. So that did not go away. And shortly thereafter, allegedly in 1980, this is when Paul Manafort and Roger Stone and another guy named Black set up their lobbying firm, supposedly. Well, it's funny because Another one of the big players in this pedo network dies in 1989. And that, of course, probably put a big hit on the flow of children coming from the Philippines. Let's see, what happened after that? Let's see. Well, let's see. On 1990, here's a fun one. Donald Trump appears on the cover of Playboy magazine. Okay, we're just going to go down a couple quick little tangents here down this list, and then we'll go back and fill in some of the blanks. In 98, Bibi Rebozo died. Okay. Let's see what happened. In the year 2000, Trump appeared in a Playboy. He made a cameo appearance in a Playboy soft porn. He poured a glass of champagne in a limousine, and then sometime thereafter, naked girls started playing with themselves. But fortunately, he was not in the shot. Let's see, in 2004, the Apprentice series starts, 2004. Now, this is interesting because during this show, I don't watch TV, but apparently during the show, in one of the episodes, the attendees or the players or whoever it was, the participants in the program, were treated to a party at the Playboy Mansion, and part of the theme of the show, I guess, was meeting Hugh Hefner and something of this nature. So there's a long-term relationship of him going on over here. And we'll fill in a little bit on that. And sometime shortly after that, about a year after that, Trump had an affair with a Playboy bunny named Karen McDougal. Now, this one in particular, she's not suing him for rape or anything like that. You know, I guess it was consensual sex. But one of the things that's interesting about this McDougal girl is there's a photo of her in her Playboy bunny outfit, standing with, I don't know, 3 other Playboy bunnies, and Donald Trump, and Hugh Hefner, I believe. No, maybe not. But Melania was there, and Ivanka. And, of course, this woman, McDougal woman, was there. Now, a lot of people look at that, they'll see the picture, and they go, oh, Donald Trump's got his hand on Ivanka's ass while he's staying there with his mistress and his wife. No, it was actually McDougal's hand on some other woman's hip, and it looks like her fingers are on Ivanka's rear end, but no, it's not. But the point is obviously that's a distraction. The point is, the man is posing with his mistress and 3 other women in bathing suits with his wife and his daughter, and yes, he's very close to his daughter. It's quite a contrast. I don't want to spend any time on this conservative values issue because obviously Playboy will tell you that they're very upset about Donald Trump having posed on the cover of their magazine in 1990 because he was a liberal person at the time, and obviously now he's had this flip-flop with his conservative values, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And of course it's a joke. And we'll point out that the Playboy Mansion was sold in, looks like 2016. All right. I know this sounds kind of, excuse me, let me just take a drink real quick. All right. So is this tenuous enough or what? Getty and Marcos both died. Obviously, these guys are very much involved in that. But the point is that we know these tunnels from the Playboy Mansion go to Getty. We know that Trump is a prodigious East Coast pedophile. We know that Jeffrey Epstein, his partner, consumed children on the East Coast, and there's no reason why he couldn't have been connected to this operation also. What do I want to point out? I would say that, again, the knowledge that there were the tunnels underneath the Playboy Mansion should be somewhat common knowledge. And I would think this is the sort of thing that somebody like that would want to share. And there was a foreign actress here, Gemma Jameson was her name, who basically came out here recently on Twitter and confirmed the existence of not only tunnels underneath the Playboy Mansion, but large rooms. All right, I think what I'm going to do right now, without blasting too much on Donald Trump, since we've spent about 50 minutes with this, these tenuous things, a lot of people would probably say this is bullshit and prove it, and yada, yada, yada. But it occurred to me that what should be done right now is a legal campaign should be explored. And I would like effort made from anybody that wants to be involved to look at every legal option we can to challenge the Getty, to force our way in there and force a inspection and an effort to be made to prove that my allegations are false. So basically, I'm thinking rather than continue in this path of allowing people to question this concept, I think that it would be more important to start looking at ways that we could legally provide some sort of precedent, if you will. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm sure with a little bit of legal expertise, we could explore ways that we can find our way down there, or at least compel the owner or the managers of these properties to provide proof that these allegations are false. So I'd like to, at this time, basically put that out there, that if you have any idea of how we can do this, or you'd like to be involved in an effort to do something like this, please get together with anybody that you know and contact me about this, because I think that we do have an opportunity to do something if we look at the legal avenues. We need to start filing some papers. Now, certainly I'm willing to put my name on whatever if people are worried about dying, but this probably is the most efficient, productive direction we could take at this point. Okay? All right, anyway, I hope you agree with me. All right, let me see who's all here. I'm just going to say hi to who's ever here right now, since we've been going for about an hour. Hi, Hacienda Heights, Grants Pass, San Jose, Massachusetts, Buffalo, Cypress, Texas, hi, Chicago, Ontario, hi, Mexico, Los Angeles, Florida, hi, Florida, Rancho Palos Verdes, Chula Vista. All right, we're probably going to have a short show again. Not too short, but what I can do right now, I'll take a quick break real quick, and then I'll let anyone come in that wants to come in. Sound good? Okay. Yeah. All right. Go ahead. All right. Anyway, I know this early schedule stuff. Okay. First of all, I do want to apologize, because a show like this, or the content like this, really would require about a week of research and putting together something like this. Obviously, like when I did the Moshe Bond series, that was about a week of production that went into that. This, of course, is so difficult to put this stuff together. But I think, as you guys know, that if I tell you something, sooner or later you're going to find out it's true. That's just the way it is. You know, like I say, it sucks to be right all the time. But if I tell you that Trump knows about what's going on under the Getty. The odds are Trump knows about what's going on under the Getty. So with that, I'm going to go say, hi, Bob. What's going on, Bob? Bob. What's going on? Unmute, Bob. Jeez.
Unmute. Okay. There you are. I think.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Okay. It was very good. You had a lot of good facts that you brought up, and you're probably right. That Trump knows about the Getty, but you must admit they supposedly rescued some and made arrests around the world. Why is that not true?
Okay, well, first of all, the reason why it's not true, if I say this over and over and over and over, because first of all, you said they. Okay, you got to remember, there's so many simple things you have to remember. Number one, the money. I mean, where do we start? Okay, the NSA. Let's start with the NSA. Every single facility in the United States and elsewhere that are connected to our, government, if you will, are controlled by the NSA completely, 100%. That includes the thing under the Getty. That basically they are the boss. So, the very fact that the NSA essentially still runs the country and is completely, controlling Trump would suggest that nothing is happening to the NSA. So, just like it says in the protocols, a show will go on. If there was any cleanup done at all, it was done as a show to make it look like something's going on. Now, here's the thing about when they said that they did something. First of all, they are the people doing it. And second of all, the children need to be rescued. The slaves need to be rescued. But at the same time, the technology needs to be rescued and the wealth needs to be rescued, because 98% of all the wealth that truly exists in the world is down there. So if they go down there and say they did something, I'll believe it when I see Fukushima radiation taken care of with the technology they brought to the surface, or all of the money given back to everybody, which is going to be far more than any Jassara and Nasara bullshit. Okay, it's never going to happen, because the thing is it's the biggest dog and pony show in the world. The guy that's doing the bad stuff is going to lead you to believe that he's also the same person that's fixing the bad stuff, so you'll go back to sleep and stop looking for the bad stuff. Now that is a very simple show, a little bit of theater. And just like it says in the protocols, everything is theater. Everything is theater. So, no, they're not rescuing any children, because if they were, we would see massive amounts of new technology introduced to the world. I mean, you got to understand, first of all, it's just to review the last show. It doesn't matter what you hear on TV or what anyone says. If you just go back to what was said years and years ago by Phil Schneider, bottom line, there's about 250 of these fucking bases, and they're all filled with slaves. And million adults go missing every year. That's a lot of slaves, not just children. There's more adults that go missing than children. Okay? 100,000 children. There's 10 times more adults that are abducted and put into these places than children. Yes, we are talking about the children because we're trying to jerk the heartstrings of the stupid sleeping people that won't do anything about it. And we're doing such a good job that now the lying media has to come along with insider bullshit COINTEL stories that they're taking care of the job when they're not. Just like the fake candidate Trump, who not only is not taking care of the job, he's always been part of the problem, and he's probably been to the parties under the Getty with his buddy Hugh Hefner. That's the bottom line. So, it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Trust me, they just can't do it. And even if they did, these so-called bullshit patriots in the Q movement, oh yeah, Donald Trump, we're in our quarantine, but all this big stuff is going on. Yeah, stay chill, stay cool, lock and load. wait for this stuff to pass, because my ass, come on, it's all bullshit, man. They're not rescuing any children. They're not overthrowing any New World Order. They're not arresting Hillary. They're not arresting Podesta. It's fucking ridiculous. Come on, dude. I mean, dude, I'm speechless. I don't even know how to respond to that, because it's so preposterous to still think that they're actually doing something. What more do I need to say, man? Seriously, Bob. You take my breath away, man. Fuck. Where are you hearing this shit? Oh, Abel Danger is still putting out bullshit. I hear. That's what I hear. Still putting out bullshit. I mean, come on, man. The NSA, the military is going to save the day from the NSA. If that was true, why does the NSA still exist? How could that be? How could Donald Trump still exist? How could Q still exist? It's bullshit, man. Come on. Nothing will change ever. It's like you're changing a little channel on a TV show and you're watching something for 30 minutes and you think it's reality, and then you go back to sleep. It's not. All right? Where did Bob go? Bob disappeared. I didn't hang up on him. Anyway. Well, that's really disturbing that people would actually think that. God. I don't know what to tell you. All right, anybody else want to come in here? Let me see. There's Bob. What happened to him? Swear. Who else wants to come in here? Oh, I got this other. Hang on, Bob. I'm gonna add someone else here. See if she comes in.
He called me back.
Oh, you took a call? You nut.
No, I didn't. No, I got cut off. But I listened to your rebuttal on my computer, and it's well taken. I still think that there's stuff that's been going on around the world that they have. I mean, that's what you read about. Who knows?
Come on. Again, you're reading about stuff. You're reading that who are these people saying this crap, Bob?
You know what? I guess I'll have to next time I get articles, I'll have to you're gonna have to be on my list, and you'll get all kinds of stuff in your emails now. I guess, is that where you want them?
Well, I mean, I wish you could.
But you never answered me.
I told you, Abel Danger was one that's coming off.
Forget Abel Danger. There's George Webb is back on. George Webb is the best. He's got a. He's been doing.
And he knows something.
Oh yeah, he does. He's part Mossad. He knows. He knows, and he spills it out. He's unbelievable. You haven't heard him? Well, you're not going to be able to hear him.
No, I don't listen
now because they kicked him off, and all his 4,500 videos that he's done are all off. You got to look at him at that new place called Parler. Have you heard of PAR?
Oh hell no! Oh hell no!
Well, you should.
All right, I want to mention here real quick that Ascension. No, oh my God, Ascension Network. That's the guys we're simulcasting with.
There's a lot of good. There's a lot. Ascension's definitely the spiritual aspect has.
You know those guys?
Ascension Network, maybe, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot of Ascension out there. The Era of Light has some great.
I just want to say, since the last show, there have been a few people that have stepped up that want to put a little more effort into their efforts, which is good. So I do want to commend those people that have come forward after watching the video and hearing me do the rant. I don't know, Bob.
Which one was that? Oh, I heard it. But what I want to do is the stencils on the major thoroughfares.
Why don't you do
Beverly Hills. I don't know what the law
hire
is.
Some local hoods to do it. What do you think the law is? Come on, man.
Okay, hire some hoods, huh? There's plenty of them around now.
Look, you just give them some weed. They'll, you hook them up with a couple of the house joints. They'll be happy.
The house joints, yeah, I could use one right about now. Look it. Your main thing tonight was to connect Trump to the Getty, and you know what? It's very plausible that he knows.
Well, of course, it's plausible.
Probably.
All right. Well, let's just review that here real quick. First of all, you got to understand that by putting these people in jail, it sort of takes away a lot of the investigation that goes on, and they don't get the double jeopardy, and they get released, and everything's cool. It's very convenient that now, like I said, you look at the three people, the big first of all, nobody in the Obama administration has gone to jail yet, okay? We're still waiting for that, and yet we've had at least 3 people from the Trump administration or closely connected to it that have gone to jail: Manafort, Stone, and Flynn. Flynn, of course, wasn't just any schmo. He wasn't both. All 3 of those people were involved in dirty, dirty, dark shit. We talked about Manafort and Stone. We know that Stone's famous for doing dirty shit for these guys, and of course.
But that was in the past.
Don't give me that was in the past bullshit. It's not in the past. It's right now.
I don't know. I heard him out several times.
Now, I'm not done.
I heard him several times on Alex Jones, and he was very good.
Oh, don't give me this Alex Jones shit. I'm going to mute you. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, the point is that Flynn, of course, is NSA, which means right away he's dirty. Now, why did I mute you?
Yeah.
All right. You cannot say that the NSA is not dirty. Flynn was the NSA dude. Flynn was Trump's military security advisor for his campaign. Stone was the dirty tricks man for his campaign. He still is. Manafort was the campaign advisor. He was the strategist for the entire campaign. These are the guys that put Trump in office. All of them went to jail. Now, by putting him in jail, you're gonna go to sleep and think everything's cool because they served their purpose, and it must be cool because now they're released, so he's now exonerated. Bullshit. It's just like you say, oh, children were allegedly rescued. That's like justice was allegedly served when Flynn or Stone or these other guys went to jail. Bullshit. It's just like putting Al Capone in jail for tax evasion. Come on, we know he's a fucking murderer. It's the same damn thing. And here's the other thing, is that Barr. Here's something else I want to throw out here. You just reminded me. Here's a good one. I'll get to that. But Barr, of course, he's the ringmaster. Okay, this guy, we've established his connections that go very far back, that go all the way back to the mafia and the cocaine smuggling before Bill Clinton was even president. And he had the life and death held in his hands, him and George Bush, who was vice president to Ronald Reagan. So the point is, if you can't tie these all together, you're fucking blind, because obviously, as we expressed so many times, these certain people, that these conservative icons like Nixon and Reagan and Bush and what have you, they were all one side of the mafia. The other guys, your Clintons and your Obamas, that's a whole other side of the mafia. They're too damn mafias, but it's still mafia, and it's all mafia wars. So, this is why people like Bibi Rebozo are important. This is why people like Cohen are important. When you look at, not Cohen, but the guy that got the dead one, the one that hung out Studio 54, the other gay guy that was Trump's lawyer for the longest period of time. I'm not talking about Giuliani. Well, let's talk about Rudy Giuliani really quick here, since you reminded me. Here's another good one. The district attorney, or the head prosecutor for the Southern District of New York, federal person, was basically relieved by Trump through Barr because he was investigating Rudy Giuliani for corruption. Now, the media right away won't even say Rudy Giuliani's name. They say Trump ally. They say this is all because of some investigation into Trump ally. They won't even mention Rudy Giuliani, which obviously is proof that the entire media is trying to cover up the fact that Rudy Giuliani is this incredible criminal. And they can't possibly let that slip, because just like Hillary Clinton, Rudy Giuliani has enough dirt on all these bastards to take them all down. So what do? They fire this guy, and he won't leave the office, and he finally says, okay, I'll stay in the office as long as my underling can take over the investigation.
Rudy Giuliani used Building 7. That was his bunker.
Yeah, we all know he's corrupt, okay? Come on, he's a murderer, he's corrupt, he's mafia. But here's the thing about these guys. They're all so good. Here's the thing that I want you to think about, okay? When you think about the mafia, and you think about law enforcement activities to take out mafia operations, if you understand that it's all the same thing, that the law enforcement people that are performing these operations against the mafia are also mafia, you have to look at the results of everything they do, because there's always another faction of the mafia that's going to benefit. And every single one of these fuckers, including the Trump administration, everything that they've done, Barr, Durham, Giuliani, all these people in their various careers in law enforcement, everything they've done was to further one mob over another mob. So, again, it's very easy to take a guy like Manafort, who's just dripping with Russian mafia, and then you take fucking Stone, who's dripping with Italian mafia and what have you. I mean, give me a fucking break. It's like, Trump has been surrounded by mafia, and these are both sides of the damn mafia, and they're not fooling anybody, and nobody sees this shit. And this smuggling children. I mean, come on. The mafia smuggled children. The mafia always were the smugglers. They are the ones using those tunnels. Even during the times of the damn Prohibition, they used those tunnels to move alcohol back and forth. They also moved children. They moved people from China.
Drugs, weapons,
coolies,
blood, organs, kids.
Whatever country that they're getting these people from,
The rat lines all over the world.
So, I don't really need to, like I said, I did not put enough time into this thing, but I don't really need to.
You did the dots are pretty
there. Okay, the very fact that they took money from Marcos, the same time they took money from Getty, right away, you can't tell me they didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Wow. Unbelievable. Well, so is the world, and now we're going to be on a second wave, another lockdown and masks. I really blew up at a friend who was walking a dog and wearing the mask over his nose and mouth. I yelled at him. What the hell are you doing?
Well, you weren't wearing a mask, huh? Shame on you.
No. Only when they want you to. Masks don't do nothing. It's a symbolic, especially when
reminds me,
get down on your knees and wear the mask. You're bowing to Satan.
Well, I guess so. Something like that. You put your glasses on at the same time.
Oh.
All right. So I still don't think there's to be election. Let me see. I think I should drag RD in here. I know he's out there.
All right. Listen, have a great week.
Well, you ready
it
to
was
bail?
Another good show.
Yeah.
And all I could say is I like your idea with the legal aspect of just opening the doors. It's supposed to be open to the public, right?
Well, if they don't sue me, maybe I need to sue them.
Yeah.
What you think?
I don't know. I don't know which attorneys could help, but anybody could sue. It's
find
just
something.
The money.
Find something. Got to be somebody that will.
Yeah. There's got to be.
Got to be. There's got to be some loophole. In other words, if they don't want to mess with me, we need to mess with them.
Well, you're like I said, you're the spearhead of the arrow. No matter how big, the arrow is only going to get bigger once things progress.
Once other people get involved.
And right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so listen, I'm going to be bowing out. Well, what time is it now? It's already 7:17. Last week you did about an hour and 15.
I know. We can go.
Well, enjoy your after show festivities. That's always a lot of fun.
It's like such a...
Every other table. You have to wear the mask once you enter, but once you sit, you're done. And when you eat.
Yeah, the servers wear plastic over their faces and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
But,
anyways, have a wonderful evening, okay?
All right.
Adios.
Later. Okay, bye. All right, anyway, I guess it's going to be... You have been removed from the call by another participant. Oh my God! Looks like I. My God! All right, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. Looks like I am still on the call. That's weird. Jeez. All right, Bob. You got to remove these conversations. That was kind of weird, man. Looked like I was deleted myself or something. That was weird. Okay, sorry about that. All right, anyway, again, I hope you enjoyed what I did put out there, and I do want to thank those of you that are listening live. And please, your comments on YouTube, of course, are highly appreciated. And the likes, of course, I do look at that stuff. And go back and look at the other videos, too, and go out and share that stuff. And, again, if you haven't seen the Moshe Bond one, go find that. Felix Sater series. Okay. All right, anyway, once again, my name is Stephen Kelley. This is Stephen Kelley Show, Stephen D. Kelley Show. This is TruthCat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com, and it is still June 25th, 2020. It's now 7:19. It's been real. It's been fun. I'll see you guys next week. Good night. God bless. Adios. And goodbye.